we go!
Bar Fantasy Football! We got the podcast going! Bar Fantasy Football! Bar Fantasy Football!
All the information flowing!
Bar Fantasy Football!
We got BTR, Commish, Rifle, and Huey. Soarin' no lineup beam.
WT!
Sold our pant loads and our current champs.
The Moppers!
It's Bar Fantasy Football! If you love this game, you will sure love
Bar Fantasy Football!
Good luck to all!
And here we go. Thanksgiving Eve edition of the BARFF Fantasy Football Podcast. Let us get the team from the studio on camera. All right, I'm Brian the Commish, joined here in the BARFF Podcast Dungeon by the owner of Soarin Eagles down on the far side of the table. Jordan's here. Jordan, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
All right. Also joining me is the owner of No Lineup Needed and frequent podcast guest, Christian's in the studio tonight. Thanks for coming in live.
No problem. My pleasure.
All right. And joining us on the line, couldn't be here for co-host duties, but is soldiering on and joining us on the line, the greatest co-host in the business and the owner of Born to Run, Walt's here. Walt, can you hear us?
I can. I'm happy to be joining.
All right. We love it. We love it. We're going to look at week 12. We are going to preview week 13, and we've got a special segment for tonight as well. So anxious to get to it. Let's take a look at week 12 action. There were a lot of games that had a lot of consequence for people in our league because it is getting to be playoff time. Going into this week, there were 3 weeks left. Now there's only 2 weeks to go. Boys, we're going to look at week 12. Jordan, do you want to start talking about your game?
I would love to.
Because I don't want to.
Well, the main thing to talk about my game is I would have lost to you if Jahmyr Gibbs had gotten 42 points. But luckily, he got 56.
Yeah, we're talking about this insane Jahmyr Gibbs blowing up for the season's, I believe, correct me if that's incorrect, score, taking out the Knuckleheads. Christian, when you looked at this game, was it just the Jahmyr Gibbs factor made it too much for the Knuckleheads?
I mean, I actually was pretty confident going into Monday night with Brock Purdy being back. And then that first quarter was the craziest first quarter of, I think, this season with, 4 picks in 5 minutes. But I thought I was pretty confident, and you plugged good holes. Kareem Hunt was up. I mean, you got a little less than you'd want from Tyler Warren and probably Michael Pittman with that Colts game. But can't really blame you for the loss.
Yeah, it was a hard-fought game, 144.45 for the Eagles to 131.35 for Knuckleheads. Well, what did you think was the story of this game? Was it just Jahmyr Gibbs, or was there something else at play here?
Oh, yeah, there's no question. So, Monday night, I loved where you were. I'm like, yep, he's going to pull it out. Brock Purdy was horrible. I mean, it was bad. You can't sugarcoat it. He was bad.
It was bad. Yeah.
I mean, he has, a reasonable game, and honestly, everything was set up. They were in the red zone. He converts a couple of those TDs instead of INTs. You're winning this game. So, yeah, I mean, Purdy just completely killed you.
Yeah.
There's, like I said, no sugarcoating it. He was just bad.
Yeah, there was really nothing to be done here. To me, it just should have been a thing where Brock Purdy saves me. I need basically his projection to save me, and I don't get it. And that really just hurt. It was too much to overcome. And then, in addition to getting that important player having a subpar performance, not thankful for Brock Purdy, by the way. We have the Jahmyr Gibbs situation. So ugliness all around. Not great.
Yeah. Yeah. And the fact that Stafford, when they get to the red zone, he doesn't look at Puka anymore. It's Devontae is the guy.
Yeah.
When they get towards the red zone.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
He got those, 2 TDs. So again, that was kind of a factor too.
I did want to ask Jordan, how do you feel about the Bills?
I don't know if anybody noticed, but maybe at around 10 o'clock on Thursday night, I dropped DJ Moore who I'm sure we'll talk about in a couple games, and picked up Trevor Lawrence because I think if I saw Josh Allen go down and start kicking his feet on the ground like a toddler and shaking his wrist, I was going to have a meltdown with only one QB in my roster. So I'm worried about the Bills, but I can't really not ride with Josh Allen. He got me 47 points last week. So I'm riding with Josh Allen. I actually think being in some tough games and having some pressure will be good for them. I think he'll get more rushing touchdowns and he'll have to put the team on his back a little bit more.
Sure.
But I'm certainly not rolling into the playoffs without a backup QB in my roster.
Yeah, that's sound policy. Sound policy. So
Yeah, I gotta agree. And I think that DJ Moore, if you want to talk about probably the drop that no one would even notice or care about, that would definitely constitute that kind of I mean, who cares?
Somebody cared.
Only you. You're the only one to get rid of them.
in a season of streaks, I would be remiss if I didn't call attention to the fact that the Soarin Eagles are currently on a 7-game
Soaring.
rip. They are absolutely soaring towards the playoffs, going from 2-3 to now 9-3. Jordan, anything that you attribute this streak to? Clean living, saying your prayers, eating your vegetables?
I got Josh Allen, Jameer Gibbs, and Devon Ashane. So those are my 3 reasons.
Hoping he was going to say abstinence. But I didn't want to throw that in there.
I just thought it was going to be worse. I screwed up on the chat and I threw in. I was looking at the app in my old eyes. The screen's very small, and it was DK Metcalf in one slot next to Devontae Adams that had rushed for a TD, and I'm like, no, they can't rush Devontae Adams now. Why would you do that? It was a terrible feeling all the way around on Monday night. All right, let's go to. Hold on. It's tough to scroll sometimes. Let's go to your game, Christian. We've got no lineup needed taking on Worst Team Ever. Worst Team Ever had decided that they were going to win out, and they started doing that in impressive fashion until they ran into no lineup needed, taking this victory 143-116. Christian, tell me about this game.
I feel pretty, I don't want to say lucky, but I think my guys are finally starting to play, and unlike the last couple of weeks where I've had to rely on one player to pull my team to a victory, I was pretty nervous with the Raiders game, but Genty looked very good against probably one of the best defenses in the league, so that gave me much more confidence than I had in prior weeks about playing him. Other than that, I mean, I think Walt knows best that I was trying to sell Dak Prescott when Lamar was coming back, probably more than I've ever tried to sell a player in BARFF history. But I'm actually pretty happy to have him, considering Lamar has looked mediocre at best. But similarly to Josh Allen, I can't stop riding Lamar Jackson at this point.
Yeah, that's difficult because I brought this up. We dropped Things I Hate this week, and I brought up Lamar Jackson because you draft Lamar Jackson assuming that you're going to get 25 to 30 points a week. That's who Lamar Jackson is, and then he gets 8.75 points, and this is 2 weeks in a row.
Luckily, the rest of my team's good enough to
And they are.
pound some other teams.
They sure are. Jordan, when you look at the worst team ever side of the ball, what was their Achilles heel this week?
Everyone. I mean, you look down that roster, Juwan Jennings did well, but everybody else was sort of a disappointing number. You expect to get more from Kyron, especially in a blowout. You expect to get more from CD, especially in a tightly contested game. Kelsey's giving you 8, Montgomery's giving you 6. He got 116 points, but he sort of got carried by the defense and the kicker to get there.
Yeah.
So it was overall like a power outage on worst team ever's point. And I do have a question posed back to no lineup, which is, you're also in this situation with a stellar QB that's underperforming. What's it gonna take to get Lamar out of the starting spot and put Prescott in? Is it a good matchup? You're getting towards playoffs. You don't want to get too cute. What's it gonna be?
So I think if he continues to kind of just get like these low double digits, or like, I don't know, I might have to actually, and this might be a step too far than anything I've done in fantasy, actually have to like watch all his plays with like an eye test. That might be where it comes down to, but it's becoming harder because Dak had that couple game lull, but Dak, like, he had that rough first drive, but then looked lights out against a good defense in a big comeback. And, you know, he has a much better offense around him than Lamar does, I think, in terms of player quality. So I think it will take maybe this week might be it. They're playing Cincinnati, which they should be able to just destroy that defense. And if Lamar can't do anything, can't get the ball moving, can't put the ball in the end zone, then maybe it's onto the bench he goes.
Lamar's on the spot this week.
Yeah.
As well he should be, because too much disappointment. Walt, when you look at worst team ever, and you might very well have been hearing about it while this was going on, is there anything that stands out to you? Worst team ever was on a streak, and they had made their statement, and they were going hard. Anything that stood out to you about this power outage for worst team ever, relative power outage for worst team ever?
Yeah, I think Jordan nailed it, because it's just hard to believe Kyron Williams only ended up with 5.8 on a kind of a blowout. And CD, I mean, I don't know what happened. He couldn't catch a pass. I think he had, 4 drops, a couple of them, one was towards the end zone. So, that really killed him. I mean, that 11.5 could easily have doubled for him. So, yeah, it was tough. The guys that he was counting on to come through, Lamb and Kyron, they didn't do anything. So, yeah, it's how many games you can really win if you got 2 of your best players way underperforming, even though a 19-point game from the defense can't even pick them up. So that's rough. No, right. And I also like to say, Christian, I love seeing half of my team, if you start Dak, will be in your lineup. It's almost
So actually,
again, if you win the title, like I took half of Jordan's, I'm going to take half of yours
well,
to give myself one extra full title.
Not to move forward, but I think you and I play this week. Maybe I'll just have to play Dak just to
the dagger,
right? The stakes a little bit.
The dagger, that would be impressive. Something else to keep an eye on as we move forward. Might be too little too late for worst team ever, but Caleb Williams, the last 5 weeks, solid performances with one exception. He went over 40 once. Is Caleb Williams going to be a player to watch in fantasy football as we head into next season? Yeah.
Hey, permission to add insult to injury to worst team ever. Okay. You really not going to start Wandale with Jameis slinging it?
I agree. I was disappointed.
I was surprised.
That I didn't pick up Jameis Winston. I'm ashamed of myself. I let Huey beat me to Dart, and he beat me to Winston, and as we'll see, to great effect.
I think that touchdown catch might be the best play of the year.
That was impressive. That was impressive.
If he got that and then stiff armed like a
truck
DB.
I mean, it was very impressive.
All right, let's talk about Born to Run's game against the Whopper Moppers. This was our close game of the week. 2 teams that were really desperately hoping for a win. Worst team ever, Whopper Moppers on an epic slide. You figured at some point it had to stop, but it did not. As Born to Run takes this one 147.25 to 143.5. Walt, tell us about your game.
Hey, I mean, gotta love it. I'm riding the JSN train. That guy is absolutely the best receiver in football.
I agree.
And fantasy right now. Like, he's unstoppable. And I gotta say, although George Pickens, I feel, is Antonio Brown 2.0 minus a murder charge, I do feel like when it comes to a contested catch, he's incredible. The guy is really a good player. So, I mean, my receivers are my strength. Barkley, of course, underperforming. And I say that with J-Mo getting 0, and I still won. So, I mean, this was gut-wrenching. I was so nervous. But, yeah, I just had enough from everybody. And, again, JSN getting 40, that's definitely what did it for me.
Yeah, that was impressive. I just did a little studio redecoration, the old style rather than this digital stuff. Jordan, when you looked at this game, Whopper Moppers 8-game losing streak, did you think that was going to come to an end this week, especially with this game going back and forth so close early on?
I mean, you got to think with the points that Whopper put up that he thought he was going to turn the corner a little bit. I assume he was punching his pillow. One of those nights, he would be, because he was probably in bed at 9:00. But I mean, he did everything right. Hunter Henry had a really good matchup, started him. He went off. Michael Wilson, great pickup. He's going off again. You can't fault Tom, but he just ran into a train, ran into the JSN train.
He did. He did. Christian, what did you think? Did you see this one as it was going to be born to run all the way, or did Whopper Moppers have a chance?
They definitely had a chance. They definitely had a chance. I think it's honestly kind of unfortunate that Puka didn't score a touchdown when the Rams just slapped Tampa Bay around.
Yeah.
And Nico as well, with a seemingly resurgent passing game from Davis Mills, also not getting in the end zone, not really getting a ton of work, is kind of, I think, unlucky, if I am to say that. So I think there is some unluckiness, and I have a question for Walt. But also want to, I know you're going to say thank you for giving you 2 wins with George Pickens 2 weeks in a row. But do you feel, as the George Pickens owner and a Dallas Cowboys fan, that Pickens is the new number 1 right now in Dallas with how well he's been playing? And seemingly Dak can hit him for 40 yards every game. And he's wide open. He seemingly beats most DBs that he faces one-on-one.
Yeah, I mean, you got to consider Pickens the number 1 because the fact that Lamb can't be counted on to catch a ball all the time. I mean, yeah, he had a lot this game, but even the game before, he's dropped a bunch. And like I said, Pickens, you throw it. If it's 50-50 ball, Pickens is probably coming down with it.
Right.
So I'm amazed. I think, what I've seen in the last 3 games, how, to me, Pickens has moved to the forefront.
Yeah.
That's, to me, first look now, which I'm just shocked by.
Yeah, I mean, trading him to you, I definitely thought that CD coming back would, hamper him. Especially, CD's still getting, 12 targets a game. But I'm just, surprised that, when I saw CD drop that, touchdown pass, I was actually who, did this dude injure his hands instead on the, well, that's why he was on the IR?
The Brian Thomas special.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right, exactly.
All right, I want to interject to catch us up on the chat. Sox fan 7687 weighed in first with pant loads, which was then drew a response from Coos 30 with beans, but then he corrected course with they stink, and so glad to have clarified that. Sox fan 7687 getting a little bit ahead of us said that Jameis TD made Sodi break some things here, so interesting. We'll have to keep an eye on the chat better than I did last week when I left a viewer hanging in the end of the show. Sorry about that, viewer. If you're watching now, if you have another question, throw it in the chat. But so Born to Run moves to 7-5, currently in 4th place, leapfrogging a bunch of teams with this very important victory. Whopper Moppers all but done for the crying. Only 4 wins with 2 weeks left.
Ding dong, the king is dead.
It seems like
it's over.
It's a 1 and out for championship reign. Hold on to that toilet seat for as long as you can, Whopper Moppers.
It's Big Mac season.
Oh, jeez. All right, Liz, speaking of Sodi, let's talk about Sodi and Huey. This is a 125.5 victory over Huey Lewis in the News, 117.4. Sodi Pantloads moves to 6-6 with a vital 6th win heading in towards the end of the season. Huey Lewis in the News is 100% in the playoffs, but they fall to 9-3, a little bit of a slide towards the end of the year. Jordan, I'll start with you. Tell me about this game.
I mean, this is just a good, solid performance from Sodi Pantloads. I think if I'm Sodi, I'm happy with the win. I'm happy to take out number 1. I'm not happy with all of the performances down the board. I mean, you want to see a 20 in your lineup somewhere, but really solid. You're not going to be upset with everyone having a good week. And then on Huey's side, just some big power outages, 8.6 from Taylor. Jefferson's struggling. Starting Kyle Pitts is never a good idea. Starting a defense against the Rams is also kind of a terrible idea. But he had some big pops on some players he slotted in, including DJ Moore, who has picked up. Clearly somebody's looking at that waiver wire every 5 minutes.
Grabbed him as soon as he became available.
Yeah, but good solid win for Sodi, but I don't think he's going to be overjoyed with it other than the W.
Christian, the move to pick up Jameis Winston and plug him in and getting 36.9, that's just smart ownership or luck?
I think probably smart ownership. I feel like Jameis, whenever he starts starting, always has this one game pop where the dude somehow puts up 40 points.
Yeah.
Makes the game the most exciting game of the week. But it seems like, I mean, yeah, I think you're a little bit, again, I don't want to say like unlucky, but Dowdle, when Bryce Young decided to toss that pick from the 1 yard line on first down, that's a Dowdle touchdown most weeks. And so, and you can't really expect Taylor to get 8.6. He put up 50 points the week before.
Right.
So, like, you have a couple of guys do a little better. He only lost by 8 points. So,
Yeah.
I mean, disappointed that he's sliding 3, but, you know,
That's all right.
couple different touches, and I think he's A-okay here.
Yeah, Walt, what do you think? Huey Lewis in the news. Any cause for concern as we get into the playoff rounds?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of cause to be concerned. I mean, the point totals the last 3 weeks have not been good. And, I mean, you got to say, you know, as they say, one man's scraps another man's treasure. DJ Moore getting 23. I mean, are you going to count on that every week?
Right.
The receivers are a real concern for Huey.
Yeah.
I mean, Jefferson, I mean, I can look, but, like, what is he? He's averaging 14 points a week now. I mean, that's your number one. You can't have 14 points as your number one. So I actually think Soarin Eagles is going to overtake Huey and be the number 1 seed. I just don't like where Huey is. They have nothing on the bench. I have big concerns for Huey.
That is gratifying to hear, unless you factor in the podcast curse.
Right. Yeah, well, he'll probably
Thanks.
reel off the next 2 weeks. Sorry, Jordan.
All right, let's move on to. Hold on, stand by. Sorry, people, I've got too many things going on.
And, what we're talking about, Jefferson.
Beans.
Oh yeah,
Jefferson hasn't gone over 20 since week 5.
Yeah,
Wow.
and McCarthy's terrible right now.
Yeah.
Well, he quote unquote got a concussion from what I heard. I think that was Kevin O'Connell himself.
They better be crossing their fingers that he got a concussion.
yeah. So
Yeah.
they're gonna start that backup. That I'm blanking on his name, but and they seem pretty enthusiastic about him. So that tells you the state of J.J. McCarthy's status in Minnesota right now. It's that they're not really all that upset that he's not playing. What does that leave us with? Rifle and Beans. All right. This is a 121-110 victory for the Beans. They moved to 5-7. Going from 4-7 to 5-7 at this time of year is vital. They pulled it off. The Springfield Rifle, just like worst team ever, were making a run, but that run is over now. They fall to 3-9. Walt, tell me about this game.
I would say welcome back, A.J. Brown.
Right.
I mean, he actually looked like a number 1 receiver. Now, again, you got to take it with a grain of salt going against the Cowboys secondary, which is a little questionable at best. But, yeah, I mean, you know, the Beans have to be very encouraged by seeing that. And then they get Jamar Chase back in the lineup. I mean, watch out.
Yep.
I mean, if Brown starts playing well, he's got Chase, he's got Diggs, got Hurts, you know, running back. But still, I think the Beans, I could see them winning the next couple of games, getting to 7-7.
Christian does the I'm blanking on me. Does the rise of A.J. Brown this week, 26 points. Do you see that as a blip, or is that something that the Beans is going to be able to count on heading into the playoffs?
I haven't looked at Philly's schedule, so it might be a little schedule dependent. But Devonta Smith was on the report and just did DNP. Saquon is seemingly running injured. I know
Something's missing there.
His last game was bad, but I didn't think he had a rush over 5 yards either. It was like multiple negative yards, which you almost never saw with Saquon.
Right.
And I mean, they have Los Angeles and like Buffalo week 17, but other than that, they have some pretty weak matchups.
Yeah.
So I could see it. I mean, it seems like they're coming alive right when they need them, and Philly needs some. I mean, there's not a lot of competition for them in the NFC East, but they probably want to get themselves a decent seed. So A.J. Brown seems like actually a pretty good spot for the rest of the season.
All right, Jordan Beans picking up a vital win. Do they ride this momentum and ride into the playoffs based on what's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, they have a roster where if everything clicks, they can put up some numbers, although I think what's really going to hurt them is the rise of Kyle Monangai and the Bears, because I really don't know who gets slotted in after after Swift. So they have some running back troubles. I don't know if they're going to be able to put together a solid enough. I mean, he's got Aaron Jones in the flex spot right now. The Vikings offense is tough. I think the Beans still has a hill to climb.
I'll let you know that I gave Kyle Meningai this momentum when I termed him a desperation play on the waiver show. So podcast curse works yet again. You're welcome. All right. So that's week 12 in the books. A lot of teams picked up some really, really must-needed victories. And now, as we head into the final 2 weeks, it's also, Walt, it's the last 2 weeks of the regular season. It breaks my heart. But we've got to get to the playoffs, and in order to do that, we're going to need great performances from our owners. And to let everyone know how they're doing, we're going to rekindle a little segment that we've done in the past. So if you're curious about how you're seen by your peers, or at least a peer, let us cue up a little segment from the past that we like to call the Gort Report. Stand by, people.
It's the Gort Report. Yes, the Gort Report. It's time for judgment. Your team's in court. You'll hope he'll say yay, but he might just say nay. So get ready. It's the Gort Report.
All right, the Gort Report. That was I actually heard that a little bit somewhere, so hopefully that audio played out for our audience, because we're really not supposed to be able to hear it in here. So without further ado, I'm turning this show over to Soarin Eagles, and we are going to hear the Gort Report.
Welcome to the Gort Report. I wanted to dive into the numbers this year, not because I'm in first place. Actually, this was a segment that was requested by Huey Lewis in the News about 3 weeks ago, when he was 9-0, and now is probably not so hotly requested, but we're doing it anyway. Nice. So I want to talk about a little bit about what I did. Grabbed every team's roster. I looked at, I analyzed whether players were gotten from free agency, from the draft, or through a trade. I grabbed, how much FOB it was worth, whether they were an undrafted free agent, what their average points are, what their position rank is. And I went through, and just as last year, I gave everybody an in-season management grade and a draft grade to come to an overall grade. Now, one fun stat we're going to talk about with each team that I think is going to make everybody kind of want to blow their brains out real quick is the dead FOB stat, which has to do with how much FOB you have remaining, how much FOB is currently on your roster, and using those to extrapolate out how much FOB you have wasted on players who you have either dropped or traded or otherwise disposed of.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, so this is going to be great. So this is in order of standings, I believe. So I'm just going to go through and talk about each team and open up for discussion.
All right. So
we are going to start with our leader, Huey Lewis in the News, at 9-3. Huey Lewis in the News has 0 FOB remaining. And he also has 0 dead FOB, and that's all coming from one pickup that was worth 150 of his FOB budget, and that's Trey Tucker, who I don't think has seen the light of day, other than maybe the first game that after he was picked up. Huey has a number of undrafted free agents on his roster that he actually picked up for 0 FOB budget, including Justin Herbert, Rico Dowdle. Quentin Johnson was acquired through a trade for J.K. Dobbins or with J.K. Dobbins for Devontae Adams. He has Jackson Dart undrafted. He has Jameis Winston undrafted. So he has done pretty well for himself, besides that Trey Tucker pickup on working the waiver wire, working the trades to improve his team. He did make the trade for Justin Jefferson by giving up Dobbins, Godwin, and Kittle. I think he'd go back in time and reverse both of his big trades this season. I think he'd want to have a roster with Devontae Adams, J.K. Dobbins, George Kittle. Godwin is whatever you want to call him, but Jefferson certainly isn't helping him out. So, Huey gets an in-season rank of A-.
All right.
He gets a draft rank of B-. He does have some hits on there. He has Jonathan Taylor and he has Derrick Henry. But other than that, he's really not starting anybody that he drafted. This team is really put together through trades and the waiver wire. So that gives Huey a final grade of a B.
A B for our first place team. This is not shaping up well for teams like the Knuckleheads, I can tell you that.
We grade harsh but fair.
Harsh but fair. I love it.
So we're moving on to my team, and I'd like some input from the crowd as I talk through some of these trades because I don't like to grade myself. But I'll bring up the stats for you. For Soarin Eagles, 9-3, we have 19 FOB remaining. We have 79 dead FOBs. So that's 79 FOB on players that we've picked up, and then we've ended up dropping. You go through Josh Allen, Jahmyr Gibbs, Devon Achane, DK Metcalf. They're all drafted. I think they're performing around what you'd expect. I think DK Metcalf is a little underperforming. The rest of them are huge hits. Acquired Devontae Adams in the trade. I gave up QJ, Quentin Johnson, and J.K. Dobbins. I think that was a great pickup for me. I think without that wide receiver one, I'd be in a lot of trouble. I got Gadsden off of free agents for 6 FOB. Christian Watson I grabbed a few weeks ago as he was coming off of injury for free. Look down the wire. I wasted 31 on Rashid Shaheed, who's still sitting on my bench. And other than that, nothing of note. So I gave myself an in-season grade of a B. I think that trade was really good for Devontae Adams. I think I've made some decent pickups on some accessory positions and a wide receiver 3. But other than that, nothing too notable and a lot of wasted FOB. But I'm going to give myself an A for the draft because I think, my top 3 picks right now are really carrying me for an overall grade of an A-.
A-. All right. Christian, what do you think about this A- for Soarin Eagles?
I think it's great, and I do think that it rides solely on the Devontae Adams train, even with your team being so well drafted at the top end of the draft. Because I think if you put QJ and Dobbins is now on IR. QJ is a hit or miss now in this really wacky LA offense. You could be like 50, 500. You could be a little under depending on your schedule. So I think that trade is like excellent.
Well, we've got to give some feedback to Soarin. We can't have him grading himself. What do you think about this grade that Soarin has given himself?
I agree. However, and we may have to come back to me because I want to hear what he says about Matthew Stafford. Because without Stafford playing the way he's playing, that's what's made Devontae Adams where he's at so far. So, but I will say that. I always thought the Soarin had a good draft, although, I always felt the wide receivers were absolutely a weakness. And he did, kind of shore that up with some, free agents and, of course, with the Devontae Adams pickup. So, yeah, I don't think he's too far off. But, again, I will potentially change my mind depending when we get to BTR and how we're looking at Matthew Stafford. So.
All right. Proceed with the Gort Report, sir.
Moving on. No lineup needed. Our in-studio guest. This is a scary number, I think, for teams that are expecting to make the playoffs this year. But no lineup needed is inching closer to the playoffs with 86 remaining in his FOB budget, which is by far the highest in the league. Only 28 of FOB that's been spent this year is wasted in dead FOB. And let's look through the team. I mean, the starting lineup is heavy on drafting and trading. Lamar, McCaffrey, Gianti, Rashee Rice, Olave is all drafted. Jake Ferguson and Igbukwa were picked up in a trade with BTR, giving up George Pickens, Tetaroa, and Bam Knight. We go to the bench. Lad McConkey is sort of disappointing for where he was drafted at. He's been up and down this year. RJ Harvey, another guy drafted a little higher than he's performing this year. But Dak Prescott picked up for free in free agency. Fannin Jr., a little expensive, a little rich, 30 FOB spent on Fannin Jr., but he looked really good for a while. And the rest isn't of note. So, in-season management, I think, has been light, but I'm happy with sort of the conservative outlook on the FOB, and I think going into the playoffs with such an advantage over everybody else is going to be important if any big injuries happen. So in season, I have a solid B, and then draft, I think, is an A+. I think these, and again, Rashee Rice, a player I really wish I had drafted. Gianti is playing great. McCaffrey's out of this world. So A+ on draft for an overall grade of an A for no lineup.
Appreciate that.
All right, Christian, what do you think?
I love that. I love that grade. I definitely think with the Rashi pick, I essentially had to be like, my team has to survive until he comes back, and I was more than happy. I wonder, Jordan, just do you give me a worse or potential downside to my draft is I drafted so many startable wide receivers that I had to trade because I actually could not start, George Pickens and Tet and Chris Olave and stuff like that. So that'd be like my one thing looking at my draft. I'm like, I probably could have gone for a more suitable running back.
I am of the thought process that players are value no matter what position they are. You can always trade them. There's always willing trade partners in this league. So whether you have too much of one position or too much of the other is really just a matter of getting them out the door.
Yeah.
If you can't start them. So I think you made a good trade. I think Ferg and Igbuka are good players. And having Ferguson to slot in that tight end slot this year is, there's not a lot of great tight ends as we were talking about before the show. So,
No.
I don't think it's a problem at all.
That is why I spent 35 fab on it.
I will go. Just speaking to the pickup of Rashee Rice, this could be, as we head towards the end of the regular season, in my opinion, this could be the pickup of the season. He's averaging a little over 20 points per game. He's getting into JSN territory. He's only ranked very low because he only has so many points because he didn't play until a little while ago. And so since he's been, I don't know that he's scored under 20 since he's been.
He's averaging 20.4.
Yeah, I mean that could be the pickup. Well, what do you think about this grade for no lineup and anything about Rashee Rice?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd agree. I'd say Rashee Rice is the Rico Dowell, at the wide receiver and Dowell at running back.
I will say Rashee was drafted.
Yes, I did draft him.
you did.
Wait.
In like the 7th round, he was suspended.
That's
Yeah,
my fault.
so-
And then he sat.
Yeah,
for
but still-
yeah.
Yeah, but still value-wise, his
Mm-hmm.
turnaround, so completely agree. I think Christian in season is always looking to upgrade and make moves. He's always knows he can come knocking on my door because I'm pretty much usually a willing trading partner. So, I mean, honestly, I think there's like two teams I fear that I'm in the running with to probably win this thing. It's Soarin and no lineup. So, yeah, I agree with the assessment.
BTR, it's kind of funny that when we were trying to work out all these trades, I think you and I were like the 3rd and 4th worst teams in the league. And now look at where we've come. Like it's
That's why you make those moves. Yeah.
That's right. We just need some tweaking. That's all.
All right, Soren, please continue with the Gort Report.
Next up, BTR. All right, so let's look at BTR. Remaining fob 9, enough to grab someone, but not enough to make a big splash if there's a big player that gets dropped. Dead fob for BTR, 134.
Oh.
So pretty much every dollar of fob that's been spent has been dropped or traded from this roster. But we'll take a look. We'll go through the players. Matt Stafford, 0 fob, free pickup, averaging 23 points. He's the 5th ranked quarterback. He's undrafted. Excellent move. Let's look at some of the other free agents. Daniel Jones, free agent, spent 7 on him. He's also a great quarterback to have, so really solid at the quarterback position outside of the draft. Traded for Tet, who's doing well. Like Tetero is a guy you can slot in and expect to get 15, 16 points on a good day. He's having a great rookie year. T. Higgins is still sitting around on the IR after a trade with worst team ever. But you got rid of Brian Thomas Jr. for him, so I'd rather Higgins on IR than Brian Thomas right now. Going through some of the players that were drafted, you got Saquon Barkley, for sure underperforming, but not the end of the world. Like, he's still the 13th ranked running back. He's averaging 15 points. There's worse busts in this league. Jackson Smith and Jigba, you picked him up in the 4th round, and he's the number 1 player in fantasy football, I'd say, this year. He's not by numbers because there's quarterbacks out there, but you have to think that Jackson Smith and Jigba is the man this year. So that's a great move. George Pickens, excellent trade target. You got Brock Bowers at tight end from the draft. You didn't need a tight end, so you could get rid of Ferg, and you really updated the roster with Pickens. J-Mo's doing okay. He's up and down. He has those weeks. He's kind of the player you're expecting. Terry McLaurin's a little underperforming, but he's on your bench. So, to go into it, I think the trades were incredible and the pickups were incredible. So you get an A for in-season management. For draft, there's only 3 players in your starting lineup that were drafted. I'll give Brandon Aubrey, makes it 4. And they're kind of up and down. Brock Bowers is averaging 14. That's amazing for a tight end. But Saquon's hurting. So it's going to be a B- on draft for an overall grade of an B+.
B+.
BTR.
All right, Christian, I'll start with you. Fair grade for BTR?
So I think I would agree. And I think maybe put him in A just because I think that in-season management actually just like outweighs the draft completely. Like he was bottom of the table nearly. I think we were all shooting with, unfortunately, the Springfield rifle, and then he kind of just emerged through trades, and this team's looking really good. Yeah, I mean, I even though he also dropped Dak, which did help me a lot, but the fact that he was so nimble essentially is the only reason why he's here. So I think that in my mind that outweighs the poor draft.
Yeah, Chase Brown too for Jordan Addison.
Yeah, great.
Steal.
The timing on that Joe Flacco trade. Some insider information might have been there. So.
Well, tell me about your opinion of the grade that you've been given on the Gort Report.
I mean, I feel this. I think, and again, trades, sometimes they don't work out for you. Sometimes they do. It's really hard to predict. But, I mean, the Chase Brown trade has worked out better than I ever could have thought of. I mean, that has helped me negotiate, Barkley underperforming because now I got a solid number 2. And, as far as I'd say on the draft, it doesn't matter who else I drafted. I drafted JSN, so it doesn't matter anywhere else.
Yeah.
So I would say I would bump me up a little on the draft just for him because getting him in the 4th round, I look at that and say that was a steal.
Yeah, I agree. 4th round and top player in fantasy, most consistent for sure player in fantasy.
Yeah.
And I'm going to change my statement from last because clearly I can't keep track of who was drafted and who was picked up. But I would say Matthew Stafford is tied with Rico Dowdle for this season for best pickup. To spend 0 on him and then week in and week out, you can count on that 25 points. That's impressive work. So props to you.
Yeah. I will take my grade, though, because Gort was nice enough, not to mention how I cut Dak Prescott. So I would say, that he overlooked it, so I'll just be quiet and accept my grade.
All right, let me pause the Gort Report before we move on. Let's address a viewer question. K-Space91 is asking us in a full PPR flex spot to pick one between Romeo Doubs, Kayshon Boutte, Chris Godwin, and Aaron Jones. Jordan, I'll start with you. Doubs, Boutte, Godwin, and Aaron Jones, full PPR flex.
I'm not even thinking about matchups, but I just say Boutte. That's the guy you got to rely on out of those 4. Everybody else could throw up 0, frankly.
And they're playing the Giants.
Oh,
so,
yeah. Swiss cheese. Yep.
It's
nice.
Yeah, and Mayfield may not play. Godwin only played like half the snaps.
Yeah.
You just got to throw him out. I will say Dobbs is the only interesting one there.
Yeah.
Just from Green Bay, Detroit games usually have produced, really good fantasy lines historically on Thanksgiving.
Got that Thanksgiving juice going, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You guys went Boutte?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to go Boutte as well.
All right, so I'll be the only go against the grain. For some reason, I just feel Dobbs is going to have a good game.
All right, K-Space 91. We got 3 votes for Keishon Butte, and BTR wants you to go with Romeo Dobbs for picking 1 full PPR flex spot this week. Thanks for joining in on the chat. If you've got any more questions, drop them in the chat, and let's continue. Thanks for the pause, Jordan. Let's continue with the Gort Report.
Moving on to Sody Pant Loads. This is a fun one. Fob remaining, 0. Dead Fob, 0. All due to one man sitting on the bench, Woody Marks, 150 Fob spent. Again, probably started 1 game. Not to say like I wouldn't have picked up Woody Marks if I had 150 Fob in my lineup when all the rumors were swirling about him, but it didn't work out. So that's that on the Fob for Sody. But let's go down the lineup. This is a draft heavy team. Drake May, Bijan, Javonte, Cortland Sutton, Devonta Smith, Trey McBride, all drafted, all performing well. Cortland Sutton's the only person that you could maybe hope for a little bit more out of, but I mean Drake May's playing out of his shoes. Everybody else, Javonte Williams, similar to Rashee Rice, especially earlier in the season in terms of, how this guy's going late and he's providing a ton of value. Some great pickups. Quinshon Judkins, 0 Fob, averaging 13.1 points. He's the RB20 on the season. Rome Odunze was drafted. Khalil Shakir was drafted. Good depth on Sody, I think. The Chase Brown trade didn't work out for him. Bucky Irving and Garrett Wilson are hurt. They were in the draft. You can't really say that's Sody's fault, but you have to say that they're somewhat underperforming on the season. I think Sody really had 1 really bad pickup and 1 really great pickup. But other than that, no real moves and a bad trade. So I'm giving him a C on in-season management, but the draft is an A. I mean, a lot of really good hits there for an overall grade of B for Sody.
B for Sody Pant Loads. All right, Christian, agree?
Yeah, no, I think this is a great draft, and I will say, we talked about having too many players at one position. I guess my thing, if I was in Sody's shoes, would have been a bit more aggressive trying to get like a top-end wide receiver talent, because he had so many running backs that he could give away, and I know teams were so desperate for running backs this year that I think he probably could have got like a pretty stellar deal if he wanted to move some people. That would be my one knock, but like outside of that, like I can't fault him. He essentially drafted his entire, or of that, like almost every player he starts every week. So.
Walt, what do you think about this grade for Sody Pant Loads?
I would say I would knock him down 1 more peg on in season, and I can speak from experience. I basically, some of his running backs, I offered him some really good capital. And the only reason I got Chase Brown because he was unwilling to part with Bucky Irving, who ended up doing nothing. So I think Sody just got too enamored with some of those running backs and got stubborn. So I'm taking him a notch down on in season. Which what was he? C?
C.
C- for me.
Sox fan 7687 is weighing in on the chat. You're gonna have skid marks when Sody starts him against you. All right.
He's got Sody's got almost had skid marks in their underwear when they almost lost that game this week. So he'll be lucky he makes the playoffs.
He's weighing in fake news, BTR, revisionist history. Oh boy, this is heating up. It's heating up on the chat right now. All right, Jordan, please continue with Gort Report.
Moving on to you, Knuckleheads.
Oh, wait, hold on. Why did I say move? Okay, continue. Let's look at something else now.
So Knuckleheads got 7 Fob remaining, 57 dead Fob on the year. Not terrible for how much is spent compared to other teams. Let's go through the roster. Brock Purdy, spent 30 on him. He was drafted by Rifle, but he got dropped. And, since he's come back, he's been a little shaky. So we'll see how he turns out. I'm sort of a Brock believer, but let's see what happens there.
30 wasted dollars.
Trevion Henderson, drafted in the beginning of the 4th round. He's the 18th RB 18 on the season. He's averaging 11 points. He's doing okay. Not great for a 4th round pick, but not the end of the world. He's had some good weeks. Gainwell, an undrafted free agent, spent 0 on him. He's the RB22 on the season, I think very sneakily, averaging 11 points a game. Drafted Amon-Ra, drafted Pittman, drafted Tyler Warren, great pickup. Drafted Zay Flowers, he's doing okay. He's wide receiver 20 on the season. You got some free agents on the bench. Theo Johnson, you spent 11 on. He's a serviceable tight end. Sam Darnold, you spent 21 on. He's playing really good. And then Kareem Hunt, you spent 21 on, and he's a good flyer to fill in. So overall, no crazy moves. Sort of an average across the board pickups, but nothing stellar. So in season, it's going to be a C plus. Draft is going to be a B. Amon-Ra, Tyler Warren, great pickups, but overall nothing crazy. So overall, it's a B minus for Knuckleheads.
My draft looks bad because Malik Neighbors. Ay.
That's tough.
Walt, what do you think about this grade for the Knuckleheads?
Yeah, and that's where I was going to go. I'd say, you've had some tough luck there, I think. Neighbors, losing your number one is always hard to recover. So the fact that, you're right there in the mix, losing your number one draft pick, I would say, I might give you a little better for the draft grade. In season's been tough. I mean, you've made some solid pickups, and Henderson was great when Stevens, Ramonde was hurt, so he's looked good. I guess my only critique is, as I've told you in studio, sometimes you have too many Giants on your roster, and that would never be a winning formula.
Well, I tell you, I would have been a lot better off with Jameis Winston this week than Brock Purdy. So that just stings all the way around. All right, Jordan, keep going. Gort Report.
Boston Beans, next up on the list. Fob remaining, 0. Dead Fob, 50. Not terrible for spending all of his budget. Let's go through the team. Drafted Hurts, he's performing. Drafted DeAndre Swift, that's a nightmare right now. Drafted Travis Etienne in the beginning of the 11th round. He's RB12 in the season. He's averaging 15 points. That's a great pick.
Damn.
Drafted Jamar Chase, number 1. Good, not great this year. A.J. Brown, drafted right at the end of the second round. He's the wide receiver 27 on the season, so that's going to be tough. He spent 45 fob on Juwan Johnson. I think that might have been the week when I commented on barfflation on the waiver wire. It seemed like people heard a rumor of spend your fob while you have it and decided to just spend it on whoever they were targeting that week. It seemed to me. Jalen Waddle, drafted in the 8th round. He's the wide receiver 14 on the year. I think he's looking better with Tyreek down. Keenan Allen's overperforming his draft position, but he's still not, your favorite player to slot in. Stephon Diggs, you spent 31 fob for, and he's been great lately. Aaron Jones traded for. You sent Travis Kelce. I don't think that's a good move in hindsight, although you did need to shore up the running back position. And then you got Mike Evans and Tucker Kraft on IR. Nothing to be done about that. Those are tough drafts. But so overall, we're gonna give the draft a B. I think overall players are performing and a couple good hits. But in season management, we're gonna give a C minus. I think he really would have benefited from more of a blockbuster trade to try to move some positions around. There's some wide receiver talent that could have been moved. So the overall grade for Beans is a C plus.
Well, what do you think? C plus for the Beans.
Yeah, I think the Eagles are all over it because, this very unusual that the Beans were really quiet trade-wise. They really didn't do anything of any consequence. So I think Jordan's dead on the in-season management.
One thing I will say is the Travis Kelce one's just unlucky that Tucker Kraft got hurt, and then that thing went through, and then Tucker Kraft got hurt the early window on Sunday, and so it's just for me that's horrible timing because if Tucker Kraft wasn't hurt, I think he was the tight end 1, and he was drafted 141st, which is 12.
Yeah, he was hot.
He was averaging more than Bowers is now.
Yeah, and that's something that if he's not hurt could be the steal of the draft if he's a one serviceable tight end. So I'll give the Beans some credence on those. That's just horrible timing.
Coos 30 is reading your mind, or you're reading his because he weighed in with he lost Kraft and Kelce the same Sunday. He needed a tight end. Thus, Juwan Johnson.
Yeah,
that's what you got to do.
Makes sense.
Yeah. All right. Gort Report, my friend.
Whoppers.
Womp
womp.
This is hard.
He's luckily he's saving 1 fob for a miracle pickup to end the season.
Saving that one.
He ended up with 84 dead fob. So it's 84 fob dollars off of his roster. And let's go through. I think you guys are going to be surprised at my grade for the Whoppers. I think there's been some bad luck this year. Drafted Mahomes, overperforming. He drafted in the 6th round. He's the QB3 on the season. James Cook, drafted in the 3rd round. He's RB6 on the season. He's averaging 19 points a game. Puka Nacua, drafted 1st round. He's wide receiver 4 in the season, doing great. Nico Collins, drafted in the 2nd round. He's underperforming. The whole Texans offense is a little weird this year. Hunter Henry, grabbed in the last round of the draft. He's tight end 5 on the season.
Amazing.
Marvin Harrison, underperforming. He was also drafted. And then we go to the free agents on Tom's team. Spent 7 on Tajay Spears, sort of a desperation move. Kamani Vidal was picked up for free. He had some good weeks. Monangai was picked up for 22, and he looks to be maybe the guy in Chicago. So that's not a bad pickup. And then Michael Wilson, he spent 23 on, and he's certainly performing like a guy that you want to spend 23 fob on. So overall, Tom's team is just flat. I think he might have just had some weird matchups this year. I'm giving him a B on in-season management. He probably could have made a splash trade to try to get another gamer at running back. I've given him a B+ on the draft because he drafted good guys that are performing well. So he's overall got a grade of a B+. It's just not getting put together for him.
Christian, B+ from Oppers.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, when you have like 4 different positions and like a top 5, you'd expect that team to be firing on all cylinders. It just either the weeks didn't work. He just got beat by 4 points. It seems like just one of those seasons, and yeah, he even did, like you brought up Vidal, Michael Wilson. I think he even did the right things with what he had given to him on the waiver wire. So I think it's a tough luck year for the Whopper Moppers out there.
Walt, is a team on an 8-game streak, losing streak, just having tough luck?
You don't get a B+ if you lose 8 games. I'm sorry. It can't happen. And the pickups look good, but when you got 7 losses and you make those pickups, I'm sorry. In my mind, the Whoppers were lulled. They got off to a nice start. They started skidding, and they didn't do anything to pump the brakes. And to me, you got to realize when stuff is going south, at some point, you got to say, I just got to stop. I got to do something different. So to me, in-season management, he underperformed. What did you give him for in-season?
I gave him a B.
A B? Nah, it's more like a C. There's no way. Because you got to do something before you get to 7 losses. Then you pick up Wilson, and then 2 weeks before is when he picked up the Bears running back. So I don't know. Like I said, I can't give anyone a B+ when they got 8 losses. Luck or no luck.
That's true. The timing of the pickups was not factored in. He really.
That's what. Actually,
Yeah.
That's my. Yep.
Poor Moppers. All right. Continuing on, we're at worst team ever.
Oh, this is a fun one.
Here we go, folks.
Sorry, Ty. Ty's sitting with 52 in case he wants to turn the season around. Fob remaining. He only has 1 dead fob. So the other 100 fob that he spent this year is on the roster. Let's go through. Caleb Williams, 0 fob spent, QB7 on the season, good pickup. He's putting together some good games for a quarterback this year. Good slot in. Yeah. Kyron Williams, drafted in the 3rd round. He's RB10 on the year, but he puts together good games. I'm not disappointed with Kyron's season. It's just not anything better than top 10. Jalen Warren was drafted really late, 11th round. He's playing really well, RB19 on the season. CeeDee Lamb can't seem to catch the ball lately. Had some injury trouble, but he's had good games this year. And the Cowboys offense is flying. He'll have better days. Juwan Jennings, he's not great. He's had some injury trouble. He puts together good games, but it's hit or miss. Montgomery, not quite the guy that you wanted him to be this year. The Lions' target share is a little more mixed. It's a little leaning heavy on Gibbs, a little more JMO this year, a little less Montgomery. Drake London, good draft pick, performing really well. Xavier Worthy, super underperforming, injuries, tough year. Wan'Dale Robinson spent 53 fob on. He's the wide receiver, 11 on the season. Maybe he should see the starting lineup, is what I'll say. Traded for Brian Thomas Jr. Nothing that the crystal ball can see, but not a player I'd want to have on my roster. And then this is what I wanted to highlight about worst team ever season. Worst team ever drafted J.J. McCarthy in the 15th round. He proceeded to drop him, and then he proceeded to spend 35 FOB picking him back up for a quarterback that's averaging 12 points in all the games he started this year. So let's go up to the grades. We got in-season D+, nothing to help the team. And draft, we got a C+. We're overall of a C- for worst team ever.
Christian, I'll start with you. That last point is a dagger. What do you think about this grade?
Yeah, no, I think it's a tough season for Ty. I don't know how. I mean, tough fantasy season. I can't say this year has been bad for him.
No, good year.
Great
bad
year.
season.
Great year. Bad season. But I agree that it seems like the moves that were made didn't. I mean, obviously with Brian Thomas, you're hoping he turns it around. The dude's obviously super talented, and he's obviously just fallen off the wagon. But it seems like the moves didn't make a ton of sense to me that he made. And then with CD injury luck, and then Kyron 10, I actually think is unlucky. I was not very high on Kyron, but the fact that he's had so many TDs probably taken by Devontae Adams means that he could have a top 5 season if Adams performed moderately well rather than super well. So I think he's got a little unlucky, but I think he's really just missing star power as well. He doesn't have one of those ace in the hole players that can pull him out of a bad week.
Sure. Walt, what do you think? Worst team ever's grade?
Yeah, I mean, I think he had a good draft. I think, what Christian's saying, I think, is what he thought CeeDee Lamb was going to be. And that's just not materialized. I mean, last year, I think I had him, or I know I had him in at least a couple leagues, and he was that guy. You could count on him 20 points a week.
Right.
And it's just not that way. And, that was disappointing. Did he draft Jaden? Was he the one who drafted Jaden Daniels?
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yep.
Yeah. So, another big loss there, injury. He just never was the guy from last year. But overall, I probably would have graded him a little higher with his draft. I thought, especially, you're still talking about some of these guys he got for, Jalen Warren, that he got on the cheap. So I think his draft was good. I just think it's one of those years. It's just some of these guys didn't pan out. But the in-season, there's no escaping that. Again, there was nothing really splashy there. I would have liked to have seen more out of worst team ever.
Yeah, I will say I did like the spirit shown at the end when he said, "I'm winning out," and then he started to win out. I thought, what's happening here? This is impressive. So keep that spirit up heading into next season, WT. And Jordan, let's finish it out with the Springfield Rifle.
Springfield Rifle. So Springfield Rifle has 5 FOB remaining, 103 dead FOB, dropped from the roster. So tough year for putting money on players. Let's go through the team. Jared Goff picked up undrafted free agent, QB 11 on the season. He was a free pickup, so not too bad there. Ramondre, 9th round pick. He's RB 41. He's had some injury troubles. That he's competing with Henderson. It's a tough one. Deebo Samuel drafted. I'd say overperforming. He's a 22nd ranked wide receiver in the season. He's averaging 14 points a week. George Kittle was acquired in a trade. Sending Jefferson away turned out to be a great move.
Yeah.
Acquiring J.K. Dobbins, Kittle, and Godwin, who's not that great, but I'm happy with Dobbins and Kittle in the year. Dallas Goedert was drafted. He's the tight end 8 on the season. Josh Jacobs was drafted in the 2nd round. He's playing good. Kamara, underperforming draft pick. Tony Pollard, underperforming draft pick. Hollywood Brown, not necessarily underperforming. He was drafted in the 13th round, but he's sitting on the roster not doing anything. And then if we look at some free agents, Emmanuel Wilson, he spent 41 on this week. He's popping off, but Josh Jacobs is coming back. So, that's sort of a desperation play to get a win a week. Parker Washington for free. Let's see if he can do anything. You got Jordan Love acquired for free. Good quarterback, but nothing crazy. Cooper Kupp, Darius Slayton. So a lot of free moves. It seemed like a lot of the players that he spent a lot of FOB on ended up getting dropped. So in season, we're going with a C+. Draft, we're going with a D for an overall grade of a C-.
C-. Walt, is this fair for this last place team?
I mean, if you think about after the draft, a bunch of us were saying, maybe the rifle went in a time machine and thought it was drafted from 5 years earlier with some guys. No, the draft I didn't think was great, Kamara. And again, I think it goes back to what we were all talking about originally. These are not bad guys, but where's that number one stud that you can count on? There
Right.
wasn't one on the roster.
Yeah.
And, to me, anybody, if you look at teams that have won championships, you always have that guy, and it's not there. So he didn't draft one, and, I'd say you can't give a good grade on the draft. I will give him an A, though, for fighting spirit. The rifle on everything they can do to try to be competitive. So kudos to
Yeah.
Jeff and the rifle for that.
Absolutely, they won the Emmanuel Wilson sweepstakes and on the waivers, and they did everything that they could, and here they are. And so that happens. Everyone's had tough years. I certainly have had many, and so that is this year's edition of the Gort Report. Jordan, well done. Thank you, sir.
Thank
The
you.
dead fob stat, that was impressive. Yeah, gotta be keeping an eye on this stuff as we move forward. So I want to talk about Week 13, and we're gonna get to the games that really mean something here, rather than just try to chew on everything at once. The first game I want to talk about, Jordan, is your game, Soarin Eagles and the Whopper Moppers. This is you're looking to move into first place, and so what you want in your position heading right now is a bye. And so what do you think? Do you think that this is something where you're just going to cause Whopper Moppers to go 9 straight losses, or do they have a chance for the upset and keep your playoff seeding in jeopardy?
They certainly have a chance for the upset. Every week I look at my team and I, I look at my wide receivers and I'm like, is Devontae Adams really going to catch 2 touchdowns again this week? So that always scares me, and you can't just rely on Gibbs and Achane to get 40 points a week. So I think we have a pretty competitive game going. But I think my team's stronger than Whopper. I think I should take this one. Mahomes is going to be in a shootout in Dallas. That doesn't help me, but overall I believe in my players, and I think I can put another big number up and put myself in a chance to take the win.
All right, Christian, what do you think? Soarin Eagles taking on Whopper Moppers Week 13.
I definitely think advantage to the Eagles. His team is looking really. I would say DK could put up like 1 point against Buffalo. Like, that dude seemingly is reliant on touchdowns to really score out, and they're not using him honestly how he was used in Seattle. So that's I think a trap one. I also think Devontae Adams low key might be. I'm not saying he's going to perform badly, but a trap game. Just seeing what they did to Brock Purdy, that defense actually looks very competent in Carolina. I think I don't know, that J.C. Horn pick where the dude read the QB's eyes and came on from the offside, so that he had no chance of that's something I never played football, but I can tell that's an impressive play to do.
Yeah.
And so I think that could be a trap game for Los Angeles where they will win but just not beat the brakes off Carolina. But I'll still hand it to Soarin for this one.
All right. Well, Soarin Eagles and Whopper Moppers this week. Does the Whopper Moppers finally break back into the win column?
I don't see it. I mean, he's got Harrison in the lineup. That's iffy at best, and again, this is what's been his problem. There's nothing left to put in there. I mean, I guess you could put Wilson in, and hope last 2 weeks he's had ridiculous amount of targets, but I just Gibbs, you got Achane, Allen's gonna have a better game. There's just too much on the Soarin side. I just don't see how the Moppers rise up, but like you guys are saying, you never know. I mean, there's enough talent with Nakua, Collins, Mahomes against Dallas, Cook against Pittsburgh. But overall, I see the Eagles taking this one.
All right. So this is a battle for a bye week. So, that's an interesting storyline, but let's get into a couple of truly juicy games this week. We're going to start, see if we can't blow up the chat, because we're talking about Boston Beans taking on Sody Pantloads. Boston Beans at 5-7, sitting in 7th, wanting to break through into that top 6 playoff group. Sody Pantloads holding on to the 5th spot at 6-6. It's potentially both of these teams could be 6-7. Christian, I'll start with you. Who takes it this week?
I'm gonna. I actually think this is so tight. They both have great matchups. Almost down the board. Maybe Javonte Williams gives me a bit of panic there, but I'm honestly kind of feeling the beans this week. I don't know why. I mean, it's super tight, but and AJ Brown's might be the only option for Philly. Jamar Chase could. I mean, Baltimore's defense looking better, but Jamar Chase with Joe Burrow back could just stomp even in a loss. Jalen Hurts, if that duo pops off, I think that they have a very good chance of winning. Plus, if Devonta Smith is out, I really hate Sodi's other options at wide receiver. Like Roma Dunze, he looked like the truth earlier in the season. Now he's kind of bad. Khalil Shakir is like at 20 points at one point, and then Jordan Addison. I mean, might be time to play him after he trades for him, but I'm not liking the other options if it comes to pass.
Walt, Beans versus Sodi. Who takes it?
Easy, Beans. And I'll tell you what. You got Joe Burrow's going to play and Jamar Chase. I think Chase is going to – I see Chase high 30s, if not 40. I think Hurts and Brown, they found their chemistry. So I love that as well. And then the part that concerns me is, I don't know, Cortland Sutton, I mean, he's not scaring anybody. He's in the lineup. Devontae's dinged up a little, but he's starting Bucky Irving, which is interesting. I mean, Bucky Irving last year, he's in your lineup every week, but the guy hasn't played in 10 weeks? And he benched Judkins for him. So I don't know. I just think the Beans end up winning, and I'm going to go on record. I think they win easily.
Oh, Beans coast to a victory, according to BTR. Jordan, what do you think?
I lean Sodi on this one. I disagree on Bucky Irving. I think, you get Bucky Irving healthy for a week of practice, you play him. It's Bucky Irving. Drake May's playing the Giants. So, I'm even looking at the Beans roster. I'm thinking he might want to get Diggs in there. I think they're going to throw
I don't know why
all
he's
for that
not
game.
in there. Yeah, I agree.
I mean, he's got Waddle against New Orleans. That's a game where Tua's going to try to show that he's not washed and maybe throw some touchdowns. But I'm starting Diggs if I'm the Beans. But I lean Pantloads. I think he's solid. I think the Beans can have some duds. I think you look at DeAndre Swift versus Philly. I think Swift lost that backfield already. Like DeAndre Swift is a guy with a habit of losing backfields, and it seems like it's happening again. So I lean Sodi.
Yeah, he definitely does groom players to surpass him and take his job. That's not a great reputation that he has, but yeah, we'll see. The chat is quiet. Perhaps everyone is just laying low and letting the game play itself out. So anyone that else wants to weigh in on this one, let's move on to probably one of the most consequential games and interesting because we have both owners right here. Born to Run taking on no lineup needed this week. It's shaping up to be a barn burner. Really looking forward to this one. Right now, as we sit here on a Wednesday heading into Thanksgiving week, the ESPN projections have this one basically neck and neck with the edge to no lineup 139 to 137. Walt, I'll start with you on the line. You've got a big game this week, 7-5, both teams, the third and fourth team jockeying for position as we head into the playoffs. Who takes it this week?
I will say, I just don't love Lamar Jackson going against Cincy. Jackson hasn't done much. To me, this is like his coming out game against a horrific Cincy D. And as much as I love Stafford, I do think it's in Carolina. They came off an easy win, but I don't know. I think maybe the Rams might struggle a little there. But JSN against Minnesota, love that one. I think Pickens against KC, I think that's going to be a good game as well. I really feel, and Rice against Dallas, that's an awesome matchup. Like, each team's got some really good matchups. I think it's really going to be tight. JMO against Green Bay, I think that could be really telling. If he gets me upwards in the 20s, then I think I like my chances. He's down in the single digits or, 12, 13, then I don't know. I think I might give no lineup, but I do feel this will end up being a really close game.
Christian, equal time. Who takes it?
I mean, I'm gonna have to go with myself. I like my matchups a lot. There's a couple that give me some pause with, I think, CMC versus Cleveland, but I think Cleveland's actually given up to running backs the last few weeks pretty heavily. I mean, Genty ran all over them.
Yeah.
And CMC is getting like 30 touches a game, so I really can't. Like, the dude can put up, if he gets 20 points, I'll be happy against. And Genty, I thought he was injured leaving the last game. I think he came out with like an ankle injury in the fourth quarter. He doesn't have a Q on him,
Right.
and I'm liking that. I think Rice could just cook Dallas's defense. I also, I think my low key better drafts was Chris Olave. He stayed healthy and he's also doing well. So I really like almost all my matchups. Ibuka, obviously traded for him, but Baker being hurt has kind of not soured me on him, but I think lowers his floor or his ceiling if he can't get the ball. But I got to stay with my guys. I don't think I'll be changing my lineup for the rest of the year outside of CMC on bye next week. So.
Nice. Jordan, this is a pretty big game this week. Who takes it, BTR versus no lineup?
I think it's a toss-up. I'm leaning no lineup because I think Rashee Rice might put up 100 points this week. Igbuka, I'll say he's playing Arizona, so that game's gonna take 6 hours with the 80 pass attempts from Jacoby Brissett. So Igbuka's got plenty of time to put points up. But really, these are two teams that I'm worried about going into playoff time, and they look like they're poised to put up another 2 really solid scores.
Yeah, this is going to be the one that we're all going to watch this week. Really fun game, and so good luck to both teams, and we'll see how it shakes out. A big playoff seeding game, and those are always a lot of fun this time of year. We're going to get into these last 2 games, and there's just not a lot of meat on the bone, but we love our owners. We got worst team ever taking on Huey Lewis in the News. There's really no consequence here except for this. Worst team ever became a team of pride, said they were going to win out, rattled off some wins. Do they want to be the team that knocks Huey Lewis out of first place? I think they do. Christian, what do you think? Does it happen this week?
I'm hoping, selfishly, as the third place team right now, and on his side, I think Huey has some tough matchups. Jonathan Taylor's looked invincible, except like 2 of the last 3 weeks he's gone under 10. And Houston's defense does not fuck around.
That's correct.
It's actually crazy how good that front is. And so he might put up another dud. I don't trust Kyle Pitts at all. I don't trust DJ Moore. I hope he's not starting him for his own sake. And yeah, there's some good matchups like King Henry versus Cincy, Justin Herbert versus Las Vegas, but I think this is like a primed upset matchup. Maybe Kyron has a bounce back game after that poor one. I think CD has a pretty good shot of coming back. I think what the OC said, they'd literally just pepper CD the ball against KC. So I kind of like Ty's spot this week.
All right, Jordan, what do you think?
I like Ty's spot too. I think Kyron, this is a game Carolina's secondary showed up last week, and I think Sean McVay is not stupid, and they're willing to pound the ball 30 times with Kyron Williams if they have to avoid, some scary situations in the secondary. I think CeeDee Lamb, I think the 4 drops is sort of just this overstated headline. Like, CeeDee Lamb's going to catch the ball. There's not enough evidence to support that he's really losing his spot that bad. Pickens had some good weeks, but, I believe in CeeDee Lamb, and that's going to be a high-scoring game. Same with Kelsey against Dallas. And I think on Huey's side, he's got DJ Moore in the lineup. He's got Jefferson playing Seattle. Some tough things. And he's got Taylor against Houston. And they showed in the last few weeks, if you shut down Taylor, that Indy offense is not the same offense that you saw at the beginning of the year. And I think teams are seeing that, and Houston's got a really good defense. So I just don't really see the pop in Huey's lineup, and I see a chance for worst team ever to overperform.
Walt, does worst team ever pull off the upset this week?
I'm with these guys. I hate the matchups for Huey. They're not great. I I mean, let's face it. I mean, Huey, let's see, week 12, 117 points. Week 11 was 72. Huey's going the wrong way. And I just, with these matchups, I think worst team ever has a really good chance pulling this upset.
I love it. I love it. And I hope that he really takes to it. I will agree. Huey's got players that face Houston and Seattle. Those are two defenses those are elite. So that's difficult. We'll see if worst team ever can pull off this upset. Also, if Huey does not win this game, we're going to talk next week about concern for Huey Lewis and the News tumbling into the playoffs after such a dominant start to the regular season. But we're gonna hold that off until we play the game, and that leaves us with this game, the Knuckleheads and the Springfield Rifle. Right now, the Knuckleheads are, in my opinion, fighting for our playoff life. Springfield Rifle would love to knock them down a peg. And Christian, who takes this game this week?
I'm liking your chances there, Brian. I hope you have a waiver wire order in for someone other than Brock Purdy against Cleveland.
I do, in fact, have a waiver wire order in for someone other than Brock Purdy.
But outside of that, like, your matchups, my one thing would be like the Pittman and Warren against Houston is like kind of tough.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think they could put up like 3 points in the game. But outside of that, your matchups are stellar. You also have Omarion Hampton. I think he's slated to come back this week against Vegas. And
I activated him off the IR already.
What an easy way to walk back onto the field is to play Las Vegas. And so, like, I think your team is like chock full of good matchups outside of Indy. And I hate to say it, Jeff, but it feels like the car is like falling apart as you're driving, and you're putting like spare parts on it to keep it going. Outside of Josh Jacobs, I don't see, like, unless Debo gets like a touchdown, and Kittle's great, but I find it tough to find some bright spots for the Rifle, unfortunately, here.
Jordan, what do you think Knuckleheads taking on the Rifle?
Yeah, I'm going to lean Knuckle here. Parker Washington's in the starting lineup on Jeff's side. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm leaning Knuckle.
All right, Walt, Knuckleheads in the Rifle. Who takes this one?
Yeah, I mean, Jordan's 100%. You got Washington and Debo against Denver. I mean, that's really a rough, matchup right there. Even, thank God you're getting rid of Purdy, because I think that Cleveland matchup for Purdy in Cleveland, you never know what the weather's like. So you getting rid of him, hopefully. I don't know. I just don't love Kittle there either. Honestly, I'm looking at this team, the matchups and everything. If the Rifle breaks 100, I honestly will be shocked. So, as long as you break 100, I think Knuckleheads win.
Yeah, well, that's not guaranteed in Knuckleheads land. I'll tell you, I almost dropped Brock Purdy straight out Tuesday morning out of disgust, and I just didn't want to make an emotional move, so I held off on that. All right, so that is Week 13 in the books. We talked about Week 12. We had a great Gort Report. A Thanksgiving Eve show is a BARFF tradition. It's always great to have you guys coming by. Love to have people in the studio. Walt, wish you could have been here live also. We had good participation in the chat. Sox fan 7687 and Coos 30. Thanks K-Space 91 for the question from a viewer. Hopefully you got some advice that you can use and win a game this week, because every win this time of year is really, really important. So that's it, boys. Anything for the good of the order? All right, Walt. Anything for the league?
Hopefully, I'll be bringing in some champagne and popping the cork that I'm in the playoffs.
All right.
Come next week.
I'll tell worst team ever. Don't be afraid to drop JJ McCarthy and spend some more fob on him.
Yeah, I will say that line this week, that stat, that bringing that to light, that's a dagger. We may see that in a short this week.
I couldn't believe it when I
quality
saw it.
content. That is. All right, thank you for coming in, guys. Always great to see you. That's our Thanksgiving Eve show, and we've got the slow version of the song. Good luck to all.
Good luck, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving.